It's Sunday, August 3rd, time for another Fireside Chat with Dizzy. Got a fuzzy little puppy over there. I got the horses in the round pen. And it has been a hot week. Last week was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday was horrendous. So it's like I didn't really want to get much done, though I did get some stuff done. But I did not ride either of my horses. It did not work with them. It was just too hot. Plus, Misty had that sore on her back that I didn't want to take any chances on irritating that. So they got a bit of a break, though I did ride, and I'll be talking about that after a bit. Let's see, yard I didn't really get anything done on. House, I managed to get the living room basically pretty much cleaned up. I had some boxes in there that I finished sorting through. I put stuff in storage. I took stuff out to the thrift store. And my niece came and got the rest of the stuff that wasn't trash, and she's going to try to sell that for me. So, dishes, of course, were all done. I even vacuumed my living room. And yard, I didn't do anything. It was just too hot. So, I did do something a little bit different this week. On Wednesday morning, I didn't leave as early as I wanted to because I wanted to get stuff done at the house. I didn't want to come home to dirty dishes, and I wanted to come home to a fairly clean upstairs. So I left later than I planned to. I went up to visit my sister. She has a summer place in New York up near Lake George, which is, if you don't hit traffic, about a 5-hour drive. Well, starting out it was fine. I'd make my way over to 55 and 55 to 42 to 295 to the Turnpike to Garden State Parkway and 17, 287, 87, then I think it's exit 21 takes you to the Lake George area. There might have been some other little roads in there. That's basically how I went. And I hit traffic once I got on 295. And it was horrible. I had been going to stay on 295 and go up past Trenton to pick up I-95 and cut across that way to the Turnpike, and I was hoping while they get on the Turnpike, they've got, once you get to a certain point, they had the split traffic where there's no trucks or buses allowed, and the one side is just cars. But even with doing that, it was just a lot of traffic. And then I got on the Parkway, which I've never driven on the Garden State Parkway before that I could ever remember. It's a toll road, what the Turnpike is as well. It's like I don't really ride on toll roads. But there were no trucks or buses allowed on there, so I thought it'll be a lot better. Well, it was 5 lanes one way. I don't remember if it went from 5 to 4 to 3 or not. I just know it was solid traffic. And I had looked up before time to see whether or not I needed to worry about any toll booths, and it said that it was all done by reading your license plate. So I'm going along and all of a sudden I see toll booth ahead. So I had to stop and I had to pay a toll. And I go up a little bit farther and then I'm seeing where you get off, and they had Easy Pass, which I don't have because I don't do toll roads. I can't even talk tonight. And if you didn't have Easy Pass, then you were supposed to pay exact change. Well, I didn't know that I was going to have to be doing this. And now I'm panicking, and I pulled over to rest stop just so that I could see how much change I had. And there was a guy that worked on the Parkway, and I asked him about, where I had to get off, and he thought I was going to be good because he said man toll booths up there, and he was right. So I got off the Parkway, and then it just, once I got into New York, the traffic wasn't as bad, but it was still bad enough. And I mean, we had places where it basically came to a standstill. So I got up there a lot later than I'd planned, and it was hot up there as well. So didn't really do anything except for eat my dinner, get a shower, and relax. Thursday got up, and I had packed for the forecast. I'd looked for the forecast before I got up there. and they changed the forecast. So they were calling for rain all day. I did have jeans with me, but it was cool, and I did have a long sleeve shirt with me, but the one thing I didn't have was a jacket. And it got cool enough that I ended up needing to borrow a jacket from my sister. Thursday we didn't really do anything. I relaxed a lot. We did go to some stores in the area. Went to a tack store. It was in an old farmhouse, and the floor wasn't level. I got a vertigo attack, and I had to have my sister help me out. Tried to find a new kayak paddle while I was up there, because that's a big sports area, and I couldn't find any place that sold kayak paddles. So, did find an Ollie's up there, and they have books in there by people that authors that I like to read, so I got a couple of books, and we went back to her place and spent the rest of the day reading. And then, like I said, it got cold, so I had to borrow a jacket from her and put extra blankets on the bed because, didn't really want to turn on heat. It got down to 45 degrees, so I didn't really want to get up on Friday, but got up and we did something a little bit different. We went horseback riding. And yeah, I knew it was going to be a little slow and whatnot, but I figured, I spent some time with my sister. Well, they had us all go single file, so I couldn't even talk to my sister while I was riding. I told him when I got up there that, I'm used to riding an Arabian. I prefer a smaller horse. The horse they gave me was the biggest horse on the whole ride. And needless to say, I did not need a horse that big. My sister is a bigger person than I am. She was on a smaller horse. The horse was, they thought it was part quarter horse, part draft, but it was built like a tank. So I think the reason they gave me her was because she was a bit more challenging, and some of the people on there had never ridden. And so I didn't really have any trouble with her. But like I said, it was definitely an experience. And it was funny when we were leaving, guy's walking in and he looks at it and he goes, "Are you two twins?" And while we're not twins, you can definitely tell that we're sisters. She's a little taller than I am, 2 years and 25 days older than I am, so yeah, we're not twins. So we also went out to dinner that night, and the place that we went, they have an outdoor area where you can take dogs, so you can't see her now very well. Fuzzy little puppy got to go out to eat, and of course we had leftovers. And I went back to her cabin, and she had a bunch of papers she wanted to burn, and she had some stones that she thinks whoever had the place before them, and they've had this place for years, might have used it for a fire pit. She had all these branches to burn pine, so we had a nice campfire, and she'd gotten some stuff for making s'mores. If I'd known we were going to be doing this, I would have brought up everything with me, because I had everything. But she bought it, and we just relaxed around the fire, went to bed. It wasn't quite as cold. Then Saturday morning, of course, I didn't want to get up. I wanted to get a shower. I finally managed to drag myself out, got a shower, again, left later than I wanted, and of course hit traffic, almost had an accident coming home. I went to pull into one of the other lanes on the one road. I checked, looked over my shoulder and everything, and didn't see this car. It must have been in my blind spot, and I noticed them just in time. I was able to swerve over, they hit the shoulder, and so no accident, praise God. And I thought that I had it set so that I would go from New York to 17 to the Parkway. Well, the next thing I know, I'm going right where you get on for the Parkway. They were taking me to the Turnpike. I didn't want to go on the Turnpike. Not only that, the traffic was stop and go, and it's like, I need to get out of the traffic. I don't like traffic. I was just on edge. I pulled over the road that I was on. I was able to pull over into a parking lot and tried to figure out where I was, see if I could figure out where the Parkway was. Finally, I just decided I'm going to see what ways it says to go to get home. Well, one way they showed, it took me south and west, or I guess I would have been west and south. And by taking that, I had no toll roads, and it was about 20 minutes longer. I went with it, as I figured it's probably going to be taking me through some small towns and whatnot, and I didn't care. So that's what I did. It took me 287 to 80, and then some little back roads through towns to 295. And 295, it was almost no, there was traffic, but it wasn't anywhere near as heavy. In fact, once I got off of 80, I was done with the heavy traffic. 295 wasn't bad enough, but it wasn't bad. And then on 42, and right after where I had to get off, I could see that the traffic was backed off. So I was so glad to get out of the traffic. And of course, I shot right to the farm, checked on the animals, went home, relaxed for a little bit, and then started unpacking. I went to put my ice packs in the freezer downstairs and realized that my freezer wasn't working properly. Everything was still cold, but it was thawing out. I jumped on the church prayer chain, asked if anybody had some freezer space. There was 2 freezers at the church, or 2 refrigerators at the church with empty freezer space. Took 4 clothes baskets there, clothes basket over to another lady's house. There was still stuff in the freezer, but it was stuck to the bottom, and I unplugged it, plugged it back in later, put some bottles of water in, and it was working. We had a church picnic today, and I had to make potato salad and deviled eggs. So, needless to say, it was rough once I got home. I had trouble staying awake in church today. Fell asleep for an hour when I got home. Was going to camp out tonight, and I just said forget it. So we're just relaxing for a little bit. I think when this wood is done, we're just going to get going home. And I've got a lot to do this week, and I will talk at you later.